June 28, 1919, 3:42 p.m. The Hall of Mirrors, Versailles. Heavy summer air presses down. Boots scrape marble. Pens scratch across paper like knives on bone. German delegates stand rigid, faces carved with rage and shame, as the Treaty of Versailles is signed. A war ends, but in that quiet scratch of ink, a far deadlier one is born. The chandeliers watch. The mirrors reflect 100 humiliated stares. Borders redrawn. Armies shattered. Reparations that will choke a nation. No one hears the spark catch, but it has, and 20 years later, the world will burn.
Welcome to World War II Ashes. Learn the untold.
June the 28th, 1919, 3:42 p.m. Versailles, France. ****. Heavy summer air hangs inside the Hall of Mirrors. Boots scrape against marble. Pens scratch across parchment. Outside, distant crowds murmur, unaware that the ink about to dry will echo for generations. Inside, German delegates stand stiff, faces tight with anger and humiliation, as the Treaty of Versailles is signed. A war has ended, but something else, far darker, is being born. The chandeliers glow softly, reflected 100 times in the mirrors that once celebrated French kings. Now they watch a defeated nation forced to accept blame for a catastrophe that killed millions. Guilt is written into law. Borders are redrawn with rulers. Armies are dismantled. Reparations are imposed so crushing they feel less like punishment and more like slow suffocation. In the silence after the final signature, no one hears the spark catch. But it has. Germany walks out of Versailles broken, humiliated, and furious. In the months that follow, the nation begins to unravel. Soldiers return home to empty factories and boarded-up shops. Trains rattle through cities scarred by hunger and grief. Veterans in worn uniforms sell medals for bread. Mothers count coins twice before buying milk. The Kaiser is gone. The empire has collapsed. In its place stands the Weimar Republic, fragile, democratic on paper, but born into chaos. Inflation creeps in quietly at first. Then it roars. By 1923, the German mark collapses so completely that wages are paid twice a day, and wheelbarrows of cash buy a single loaf of bread. Children play with stacks of worthless bills. Elderly pensions vanish overnight. Faith in institutions evaporates. And when trust disappears, people start listening to anyone who promises order. Meanwhile, the streets grow violent. Communist uprisings flare. Right-wing militias respond. Political assassinations become common. Germany feels less like a country and more like a battleground that never quite stopped fighting. The war, it seems, never really ended. In Munich, amid beer halls thick with smoke and anger, a young veteran listens carefully. Adolf Hitler is not yet a household name. He is a failed artist, a former corporal, a man who feels deeply betrayed by Germany's defeat. He believes the army was stabbed in the back. He believes politicians, Marxists, and Jews are to blame. And when he speaks, people listen, not because his ideas are new, but because his rage sounds like theirs. His voice cuts through the noise. Sharp. Hypnotic. Furious. By 1920, Hitler has joined a small extremist group called the German Workers' Party. Soon, he reshapes it into the National Socialist German Workers' Party, the Nazi Party. Its symbols are simple. Its enemies are clearly named. Its message is intoxicating to those who feel lost. Germany was once great. Germany has been humiliated. Germany will rise again, but early on, power remains out of reach. In November 1923, Hitler makes his move. Inspired by Mussolini's March on Rome, he attempts to seize control of Bavaria in what becomes known as the Beer Hall Putsch. It fails spectacularly. Gunfire erupts in the streets. Police bullets cut down Nazi supporters. Hitler is arrested, charged with treason, and sent to prison. It should have been the end. Instead, it becomes a beginning. In Landsberg prison, Hitler is treated leniently. He receives visitors. He dictates a book, Mein Kampf*, laying out his worldview in chilling clarity. Racial hierarchy, antisemitism, territorial expansion, and a belief that war is both inevitable and necessary. He emerges from prison not chastened, but convinced. Violence, he now believes, must be wrapped in legality. Power must be seized through the system, not against it. For a brief moment, it seems like Germany stabilizes. American loans flow in under the Doors Plan. Factories reopen. Jazz fills Berlin nightclubs. The Weimar Republic breathes again. And extremist parties, including the Nazis, fade into the background. Then, in October 1929, the world economy collapses. The Great Depression slams into Germany like a second defeat. American loans vanish overnight. Banks fail. 6 million Germans are unemployed. Breadlines stretch for blocks. Desperation returns, deeper than before. And this time, democracy is blamed. The Nazis seize the moment. Their rallies grow massive. Red banners ripple in the wind. Drums pound. Torches burn at night. Hitler's speeches promise jobs, pride, revenge, and unity. He offers simple answers to complex pain. He tells Germans who to hate and who to follow. By 1932, the Nazi Party is the largest in the Reichstag. Behind closed doors, conservative elites believe they can control Hitler. They see him as loud, useful, temporary. On January 30th, 1933, President Paul von Hindenburg appoints Adolf Hitler Chancellor of Germany. The decision is legal, orderly, constitutional. Within weeks, Germany changes forever. The Reichstag fire in February becomes a turning point. Civil liberties are suspended. Political opponents are arrested. Newspapers are silenced. Fear spreads quickly, deliberately. By March, the Enabling Act passes, giving Hitler dictatorial powers. Democracy does not collapse in a single blow. It is dismantled piece by piece, cheered on by crowds desperate for stability. Soon, there are no rivals left. Trade unions are crushed. Opposition parties banned. The first concentration camps open, not yet for mass murder, but for intimidation and control. Loyalty is enforced. Dissent disappears, and the world watches. At first, Hitler's moves seem internal. Germany withdraws from the League of Nations. Rearmament begins in secret, then openly. The Treaty of Versailles is ignored, clause by clause. Conscription returns. New weapons roll off assembly lines. Each violation is met with protests, and inaction. In 1936, German troops march into the Rhineland, a direct breach of international law. French forces could stop them. They don't. British leaders urge calm. Hitler later admits it was his greatest gamble. Had the Allies responded, his regime might have collapsed. They didn't. Instead, confidence grows in Berlin. So does ambition. Germany and Italy draw closer. Spain becomes a testing ground as German aircraft bomb cities during the Spanish Civil War. The Luftwaffe learns what modern war looks like. So do the victims. By the late 1930s, Hitler no longer hides his intentions. He speaks openly of uniting all Germans. Austria falls in the Anschluss of 1938. Cheered crowds, no resistance. Then comes Czechoslovakia. At Munich, Western leaders agree to sacrifice the Sudetenland for peace. Peace for our time, they say, but peace is already slipping away because behind the parades and speeches, the question remains, one that no treaty, no summit, no concession has answered. If this is only the beginning, what happens when Hitler decides that words are no longer enough? March the 12th, 1938. 7:15 a.m. Vienna, Austria. Tank engines rumble across cobblestone streets. Steel tracks grind against stone, echoing between ornate buildings still wrapped in morning mist. Civilians line the sidewalks, some cheering, some frozen in silence. Swastika flags appear from windows almost instantly, as if they had been waiting all along. German soldiers smile, wave, accept flowers. Not a single shot is fired. Austria has ceased to exist. This is the Anschluss, Germany's annexation of Austria, and it happens in less than 48 hours. No invasion. No battle. Just pressure, threats, and the knowledge that no one is coming to stop it. Hitler rides into Vienna days later to a crowd of nearly 200,000 people. The roar is deafening. He tells them they are home now. Many believe him. Meanwhile, back in London and Paris, leaders issue formal protests. Carefully worded. Politely outraged. Then they move on. The lesson is clear. Force works. Within weeks, Hitler turns his attention to Czechoslovakia. Specifically, the Sudetenland, a mountainous border region populated largely by ethnic Germans. Nazi propaganda floods the area, claiming Germans there are oppressed, abused, in danger. It's a familiar script. Manufactured crisis. Moral outrage. Demands framed as justice. Behind the scenes, Hitler is already planning war. Czechoslovakia is not weak. It has a modern army, strong fortifications, and mutual defense treaties with France and the Soviet Union. But treaties mean little without will. In September 1938, Britain and France choose negotiation over confrontation. The result is the Munich Agreement. Czechoslovakia is not invited to Diana Grand Hall in Munich. Leaders redraw borders yet again. Hitler promises that the Sudetenland is his last territorial demand in Europe. British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain returns home waving a piece of paper, declaring peace. Crowds cheer. Relief washes over a continent traumatized by memories of 1914, but in Prague, there is only betrayal. Within 6 months, Hitler breaks his word completely. German troops occupy the rest of Czechoslovakia in March 1939. This time, there is no pretense of ethnic unity, no claim of self-determination. It is naked conquest. Tanks roll into Prague. The Czech state collapses. Europe finally understands the truth. Appeasement has failed, yet even now, war is not inevitable. Choices remain. And Hitler knows that Germany's military machine is growing fast, but it is not invincible. Fuel supplies are limited. The economy is strained. Rearmament has created jobs, but also debt. Hitler needs resources. Land. Food. Oil. He needs space, he calls it Lebensraum living space, and that space lies to the east. Poland stands in the way. Poland is reborn after World War I, carved from the ruins of empires. Its borders are awkward, its politics unstable, but its independence is fiercely guarded. The Polish corridor cuts Germany off from East Prussia. The city of Danzig, largely German, sits under League of Nations control. Hitler begins to demand concessions, roads, rail access, reunification. Poland refuses. This time, Britain and France draw a line. In March 1939, they guarantee Polish independence. If Germany attacks, they promise to fight. For the first time in years, Hitler faces real resistance. Outwardly, he rages. Inwardly, he plans. Germany cannot fight Britain, France, and the Soviet Union at the same time. A two-front war nearly destroyed Germany once before. Hitler will not repeat that mistake. So he does the unthinkable. He reaches out to Stalin on August 23, 1939. In Moscow, Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union sign the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. The world is stunned. Two bitter ideological enemies, Nazism and communism, agree to neutrality. But the public treaty is only half the story. Secret protocols divide Eastern Europe into spheres of influence. Poland is to be split in two. The final obstacle is gone. In Berlin, preparations accelerate. Rail schedules are finalized. Units are positioned. Ammunition is stockpiled. Propaganda ramps up, accusing Poland of aggression. Border incidents are staged. The German public is told that war, if it comes, will be defensive. Necessary. On the night of August 31st, German operatives carry out a false flag attack on a radio station near the Polish border, dressed in Polish uniforms. A message is broadcast in Polish. Evidence is planted. It is clumsy, transparent, but it doesn't matter because the decision has already been made. Across Europe, tension thickens. Diplomats scramble. Trains carry soldiers instead of commuters. Newspapers speculate, deny, reassure. Families listen to radios late into the night. Everyone feels it now, that something enormous is about to break. In Germany, church bells ring. In Poland, blackout curtains are drawn. In Britain, air raid sirens are tested. Children are fitted with gas masks. The world holds its breath. All that remains is the spark, and it is already burning its way toward dawn. September the 1st, 1939. 4:45 a.m. Westerplatte, Poland. A sudden flash cuts through the darkness. The thunder follows a heartbeat later. The German battleship Schleswig-Holstein anchored quietly in the harbor under the pretense of a friendly visit, opens fire. Shells slam into the Polish garrison. Brick shatters. Trees explode into splinters. Men scramble from bunks as the ground convulses beneath them. World War II has begun. The same moment, German troops pour across Poland's borders from the west, north, and south. Dive bombers scream out of the clouds, sirens howling like mechanical predators. Roads choke with refugees. Horses bolt. Radios crackle with frantic orders. The attack is sudden, coordinated, overwhelming. This is not the war Europe remembers from 1914, this is something faster. Darker, German armored columns punch through Polish defenses with terrifying speed. Tanks, infantry, aircraft, working together in a new kind of warfare the world has never seen. Later, it will be called Blitzkrieg. Lightning war. To the men on the ground, it feels like the sky itself has turned against them. Polish soldiers fight bravely. Cavalry units, often mocked in myth, do not charge tanks, but they do charge infantry, buying time where they can. Cities resist. Westerplatte holds for 7 days against impossible odds. The Polish Air Force scatters and keeps flying. But the imbalance is too great. On September 3rd, Britain and France finally ACT'd at 11:15 a.m. Britain declares war on Germany. France follows hours later. Bells ring again, but this time, not in celebration. Crowds gather in silence. There is no cheering, only grim understanding. The spark has ignited the continent, yet for weeks, the Western Front remains eerily quiet. Soldiers sit in trenches, waiting. Newspapers call it the phony war. But in Poland, there is nothing phony about what is happening. On September 17th, the final betrayal comes from the east. The Red Army invades, bound by the secret clauses of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Soviet forces cross into Polish territory, claiming to protect ethnic Ukrainians and Belarusians. Polish commanders, already fighting for survival, are stunned. The country is crushed between two giants. Warsaw falls on September 27th. Poland is partitioned once again, erased from the map by powers who promise peace, stability, order. Within weeks, Europe is at war, but this moment, this collapse, was not sudden. It was built, piece by piece, decision by decision, year by year. Think back. To the ashes of 1918. To a defeated Germany humiliated, disarmed, blamed. To veterans returning home to hunger and anger. To inflation that turned savings into dust. To politicians who promised order and delivered chaos. Think of the warnings ignored. The early violence of the Nazi movement. The book that laid out the plan in plain language. The purges, the camps, the burning synagogues. The borders crossed without resistance. The treaties signed and broken. At every stage, there was a choice. Fear of another war shaped every decision. Leaders who had lived through the trenches of World War I could not imagine sending their sons back into that slaughter. Appeasement was not cowardice, it was desperation. A gamble that reason could restrain ambition. It failed. Because Hitler did not seek compromise. He sought momentum. Each success fed the next. Each retreat by his opponents confirmed his belief that they would not fight. Power consolidated. Dissent crushed. The state reshaped around war, and when the war came, it came with total commitment. What followed would consume entire nations. Cities reduced to rubble. Millions dead. Genocide on an industrial scale. Technology accelerating destruction beyond anything the world had seen, all of it traced back to those fragile years between wars. 1918 to 1939, a period often treated as an epilogue and a prologue. But in truth, It was the battlefield where the future was decided. The men who signed treaties, the crowds who cheered speeches, the journalists who softened headlines, the voters who stayed home, the soldiers who marched because they were told to. History is not only made by those who pull triggers, it is made by those who choose not to stop them. When we look back at the road to World War II, the lesson is uncomfortable. Evil rarely arrives without warning. It advances when resistance feels inconvenient, when unity feels impossible, when peace feels too precious to risk. The world of the 1930s was modern, educated, connected by radio, rail, and diplomacy. And still, it walked into catastrophe. Today, the ruins of that era are museums. The voices are recordings. The decisions are case studies. But the pattern, the slow normalization of aggression, the erosion of truth, the belief that it won't go that far, is not confined to history. That is why this story still matters. Because the spark that started World War II was not just a gunshot at dawn in Poland, it was silence, delay, hope in place of action, and the question that lingers, long after the smoke clears, is not how the war began, but whether, if faced with the same choices, we would recognize the moment before it was too late. That question is not answered in archives, it is answered by every generation that comes after.
Thanks for watching this chapter of World War II. If you find this video helpful, please support us by liking and dropping a comment. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to catch the next chapter of this series. Until then, take care.